Evolutionary, humans have always been designed to create. We used to have to build dens, houses, and shelters to house and protect ourselves against harsh weather and predators, or we'd be creating tribal rituals and dances, or maybe it was a new type of hunting strategy that would end up catching more prey. And this creation, essentially, is the equivalent of the modern entrepreneur who creates, innovates, and invents the billions and millions of different products that you and me have around us at any given time. But no matter who you are always providing value and creating something for someone. And this essentially means how much money you end up making. The more value and the more creation that you do, the more money that you make, because hopefully the more value that you end up providing to different and more and multiple people. And while I may not seem inclined to speak on this topic, I'm only a small YouTuber that hasn't exactly made their millions yet, but I do feel like this is a good philosophy and a good mindset to have that could carry you on to success in the future. And no matter who you are always producing something or consuming something. And if you consume more than you produce, you end up losing money. And if you produce more than you consume, you end up making money. And your production can be absolutely anything from having like an office job to actually being an entrepreneur that creates websites and products and all that sort of stuff. And if you are currently in like an office job or any kind of job and stuff like that, if you work for a company, you are essentially like a permanent freelancer for that company. They hire you to do a certain amount of hours per week, and you either come into the office or you work from home, or you kind of do whatever the hell the job actually requires you to do, and you do the job, and you are essentially a permanent freelancer, and you use the skills that you have, maybe it was from when you went through school and stuff, to actually do that job. So this begs the question that can everyone technically be entrepreneurs? And I think there is a certain amount of yes to this statement. For instance, if you work at an office job, and as I said before with the sort of permanent freelancer thing, if you work for like 3 to 2 different companies doing the same sort of tasks that you would have done for a single company, maybe you work from home and implement loads of productivity tactics to be able to get the like triple the amount of work done in the same 8 hours of your day or something. You end up being like a permanent freelancer, putting your skills on Fiverr or on the job market or whatever, and you end up making more money than you previously would with this sort of value creation and almost separating yourself from the company. That kind of mindset may end up making you more money in the future. But realistically, not everyone has office jobs. Not everyone can implement this permanent freelancer kind of thing where they work from home and work for 2 to 3 different companies and implement loads of productivity tactics, because some people may be a doctor or a lawyer, and this requires them to be in office, in a courthouse, in like the hospital, many hours a day. And it's almost like it seems quite hard to be an entrepreneur and have this value creation mindset if you have one of these jobs that's quite basic and really necessary for our society. But what if everyone who was a doctor or a nurse had their own little medicine and health firm, and they ended up hiring maybe 2 people, and it was just a little health firm run by 3 people, and there were so many of these across the country, and that was just how medicine worked. And it can be the same thing with law. People could run their own law firms. 1 to 2 to 3 people could be in like a partnership and just run their own little law firm and help their clients out that need help or whatever. And it's the same sort of value creation type of thing. And while this may be so difficult and so hard to imagine in current society, maybe it is almost worth pondering on this idea, because there are probably scenarios where this is absolutely impossible. For instance, it's going to be very hard for you to do this if it's like a manual labour job where you are a builder or a landscaper and stuff like that. It's going to be very hard to implement this kind of mindset when that's the kind of work that you do every day. Maybe you're a train driver or something. That's going to be quite difficult to be an entrepreneur because you drive a train. But what if every train driver owned their own train, and there was like a website made by another entrepreneur that sort of dictated where the trains were going to go and how people would avoid collisions and stuff like that? Maybe that's possible, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for society to sort of adjust to this sort of thing where everyone works for themselves and there aren't massive corporate firms. And while there will still be big companies, stuff like that, everyone who works for them are essentially the permanent freelance kind of things that I talked about previously. But not everyone has to be a solo entrepreneur. You can have these sort of partnerships with your family and with your friends. Maybe you do own like a landscaping or a building business, and you and your family sort of own that business and are the only employees, or you employ like 1 to 2 to 3 people, like I mentioned with the law and medicine firms. You're in like a partnership, and you can do that for sort of normal businesses as well. You can enter into a partnership and make a certain product that you are both passionate about and you think will provide value to the entire world. That can apply too. That works too, and being in a partnership essentially means that you are both entrepreneurs. While this may seem like quite a utopian reality that may not realistically work, it does seem like something that I think we could maybe ponder our thoughts on and maybe journal on or meditate on, because it does seem like an interesting topic to me, and that's why I decided to make a video about it. But while everyone may be able to be entrepreneurs, can everyone be rich? And I don't think the answer to that is yes. The answer to that is probably no, because if everyone was rich, being rich then wouldn't be special. Being rich in our society nowadays is seen as something that's very glamorous, it's seen as something that's very idolized upon. Yet if everyone lived that rich lifestyle, that lifestyle would not be special anymore. And the money that you had, if everyone had that sort of level of money, that money becomes not special at all. That amount of money becomes the sort of similar relative amount of money that you may have been earning and having previously, because the sort of laws of economics just defy the ability for everyone to be rich. Either everyone has to be equal, or there has to be an entirely uneven distribution, sort of bell curve type of thing. But while people may not all be able to be rich, is it possible for everyone to be wealthy? If you're an entrepreneur, you are generally seen as someone that has a lot of time on their hands. You are genuinely seen as someone that can go off on holiday because they earn passive income and that sort of stuff. If everyone was an entrepreneur and they had time on their hands, they had freedom from the businesses that they'd built and like the productivity tactics they'd implemented if they were doing this sort of permanent freelancer thing, they would essentially be wealthy. They have more time, more freedom on their hands to do the sort of things that they want. Hopefully now they have like locational freedom if they work from home or whatever. And maybe it is possible, while people can't all be rich, for everyone to be wealthy and henceforth happy. Because while riches can make some people happy, wealth is the true thing that gives you happiness, and wealth is your health and your freedom and the time to do the things that you actually give a crap about. Because many people in the modern day, they don't have the time to pursue the activities that they actually care about, and they end up having to give up hobbies that they love to do so much as a child as they kind of enter the world of society and corporate and work. And personally, I never want that to happen to me. I always want to be able to continue the hobbies that I'm currently implementing and doing now that I find interesting and give me a lot of happiness. I don't want this sort of inevitable 9 to 5 in a way to happen to me, because it just seems like it really saddens a lot of people in the modern day, and that's not something that I personally want to experience a lot. So with that, I hope you found value at this video. I hope you kind of maybe think about the sort of mindset and philosophy of everyone being value creators and value providers, and hopefully that may take you on to success in the future. So with that, I also recommend subscribing, because I love this community of young tribal people who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have, and good luck.